came to him. The religion, science, or truth. Nothing is sacred. No, nothing is sacred to him. Whenever man is straight, you can just hear that song way. Oh, can't you see? He was that snake there in the garden, the one that tricked around and he behind Santa Claus, and that image on the wall. Everyone would you believe? He's the chief of a revelation, being not mistaken, the real Satan. That's him. Don't waste your time in cursing. A bit of good, 'cause his only life is in your mind. It's only understood if you would just start believing in truth and reality. That will take his life away. But as long as you keep using him, he'll keep using you. You decide. Does he say?
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, thank you for joining us this morning for All Things Human. Alhamdulillah, as we continue whatever our largest subject is right now, the operating title for this morning, which is an extension of last week's title. Titles change, substance remains the same. How Shaitan manages the society. How Shaitan manages the society. Alhamdulillah, we have a little time today, and we're going to let's go ahead and get to it because actually, there, inshallah, I feel like the time is going to allow us to play some long video clips, and you'll have the audio portion on Blog Talk, so you'll be able to hear the audio, but there are some very important visual aspects to given that we have the time to play today. So if you have a way to get the Facebook, the YouTube connect at the same time you're on Blog Talk, that's good. And again, I say Blog Talk, those of you who are there who may not be able to get onto the other platforms, you'll have the audio, inshallah. But there will be extended clips. One of them is about 4 minutes, and if we get to the other one, then it's actually about 13 minutes. But they're just so very important. So much for that. So if you can get to both platforms, that's good. It's very, very important. Let me take a moment to sort of trace back and try to discipline myself to not get into a lot of detail right now. But let's just to catch some of you up with it. I'll do it by just looking at the visual aspect of this. This topic started, I don't know, a couple of months ago, at least, probably more like 3 months ago. Things move so fast. Satan, Hypocrites, History, and the Word of God. That's the meta title. Y'all know about that meta word, right? Meta title, Satan, Hypocrites, History, and the Word of God, right? So that's the meta title. I'm going to click real quick through these slides and kind of catch you up right to the point where we are today. Let's get this straight here. All right. Clicking real quick. Now the cornerstone idea, this statement from the Imam from, let me see, do I have that book here? One day I'm gonna just stop doing it. Now you see it, now you don't. But the cultural trends in America reveal the satanic operation of manipulative principle covertly operating in the culture, influencing the cultural thinking. By the operation of such covert principle, the culture swings in pendulum from oppressive states to liberal states, bringing us a taste of, I just think about that word, taste. It's an anagram for state. Just switch out the first T and the S, and you get, well, not exactly, move the S from the middle to the front, then you get state. Okay, so it has meaning, but move on. Bringing us to a taste of the good times, followed by a taste of hell. Near the bottom of the arc, in the pendulum swoop, social chaos and aberrant morality. This operation deceives the moral and rational vision in the common public and deny all Americans the freedom our nation proclaims. And this is from Imam Muhammad's publication, As the Light Shineth in the East. What the Imam was just saying about the moral and the rational, and how moral purification is what makes possible rational correctness, right? So if the morality is undermined, then the rationality is undermined, and the freedom that the Imam he spoke of, the freedom that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted to the human being, how that freedom, the person is deprived of the true benefit of the excellence of that freedom if you don't have those other two matters in order. But I don't want to digress into some details on that, because we want to just go further. Okay, so time. So all of this conversation is about time, and how that tick-tock, that clock, that watch, you're getting sleepy, that whole meme, which is really saying about how your time is being managed by others. And we point out the story in the various movies that we have seen. Trinity, when she first appeared on scene, and the first escape from the Matrix, she did it through a telephone booth. Superman, his transformation comes through a telephone booth. Bill and Ted's, I think, Excellent Adventure. Keanu Reeves, now you remember Keanu Reeves, this is him in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He also is the Neo of the Matrix. Excuse me, the Neo of the Matrix. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that because once a person, a celebrity, whatever, a star that they give us, that star has a place in the heavens of the society, and that's the role that they play. Like Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman is the ever-present narrative. I'm not giving it the exact word, but he's the God voice. Let's put it like that. He's the God voice, right? The narrative. He's the master narrator, right? Well, Keanu Reeves, that character, that Neo character, you remember he was also in Constantine, where he's still playing that role where you're dealing with things that are, let's just say, not so normal. So I got to keep going. So then also in Time Bandits, you don't see the title for the bottom plate there, but Time Bandits, and that's a big story, which is the underlying, which is reflecting the underlying character of what I'm talking about right now. It's a satirical, in your face playing of what's going on, right? So it's like, okay, we're gonna entertain ourselves. Uh, so uh, hmm, there's so many things. Every time I look at it, I see something else. But let's move on. So this one, Denzel in The Fallen, right? So even in his narration, they throw you off in his narration, and you think that he's the character, when in fact he is not actually the character. Um, but the song that was the devil's song through that whole movie, yeah, that is, you were able to recognize when Shaitan had found a new host, because the new host would start singing that song. Time is on my side. That's what the Jacobite, we call him, the Jacobite, the Shaitan, the Iblis, but beyond Iblis, the Shaitan, they know how to manipulate time. If I can keep, if you're present in front of me, but if I can create an illusion for you to make you think you're in another place and in another time, I don't have to worry about you, because your behavior is not going to reflect present time, especially if your behavior in the present would represent a threat to me or constitute a threat to me. Then what I need to do is put you on a different time. When I put you on a different time, and listen to this now, you are where your mind is. You ever made salat and forgot how many rakas you're doing because you was thinking about what's happening on the job or in the kitchen, or somewhere else? You are wherever your mind is, and your mind is whatever you think your environment is, whatever you think that reality is for you. And so much for that. So their awareness and their ability to manage people's time and to manage people through their conception and perception of time, that's what's on their side and was not known by others. And even if you deal with the whole Rolling Stone thing, it's not, I'm not even getting into it. But the way that they knew that Christ had risen is because of a Rolling Stone. Let's move on. Uh, all right, and we talked about again the Sankofa bird, and its symbolism. Moving on. So the management of society is such that the bottom line here is that the culture, the role of the culture is to manage perceptions and interpretations of life, right? And when the internal workings of your mind automatically echo most of the values and beliefs of your culture, you have achieved cultural consensus trance. So again, that's also part of the hypnotic effect of the culture. And the hypnotic effect of the culture, it's like it the rhythm of life is such that, okay, if let's take a 5 year period of time. So I'll hit you with something. Let's just say Star Wars, even though it doesn't happen that quickly. I give you series one, I give you series two, I give you series three, series four, three, four. So 5 years, but we know it's been like 25 years, for example. But the impact and the influence of what that movie brought, just as an example, still shapes the thinking of the generations of people that are growing up in the presence of that serial myth, that serial modern myth. And so people's minds and consciousness and thinking and perception is shaped by it. That's just one. That's just one. But whatever, there are so many others, just Disney in general, just shapes the consciousness, shapes the thinking, shapes the mind, shapes the perception, shapes the way of reasoning, shapes the mindset, and it's managed by the people who create the images. They have this story. I think it's Plato's cave metaphor. Look that up. I mean, that is literally. even though that thing is like 2,500 years uh, ago, 2,500 years old, Plato's cave analogy, that's literally still operating and used as a principle to operate in this in this world. I got I'm getting some clicking here. I don't think I have anybody's mic open. Hold on. Nope. I guess they're listening in. So in terms of that, methodology, that methodology has been working for 2,500 years. That's before the Christ story, the greatest story ever told, was given to the West, particularly. Let's get back to it. So the culture is the cave. You should study it if you're interested in knowing and owning in a walking manner what I'm talking about. You want to know that, you want to understand that, be clear on that, and really, for me, understanding that is a big part of being free in this society. Because if you're not understanding what manages this society, then you're being managed. That's it. You're being managed. You have to get to that place, like is expressed in Jesus' words of the Bible. It says that I'm in the world, but I'm not of it. I'm in the world, but and that's what the Matrix is. I mean, it's a metaphor for that reality too. I'm in the world, but I'm not of it. If you don't understand the nature of this matrix, if you don't understand the nature of this culture, which is also one of the statements that we made. Let me see if that statement is here. Because, yeah, here it is. Lauren Greenfield, her statement was, authentic culture can provide us a way to think critically about what's around us. See, that's the understanding the matrix, is being able to critique the society. I just got my tea. I need to take a sip anyway. Alhamdulillah. You got to be able to critique it. If you don't critique it, then it goes right into your subjectivity. And once it's inside your subjectivity, you become a subject of the culture, and you become subject to the culture. So authentic culture can provide us a way to think critically about what's around us. Speaking of her work, she says, my work is about having a way to deconstruct the culture. You got to be able to break the culture down, right? Deconstruct the culture around us so we can have so we can kind of see the matrix that we are in, and hopefully have a little agency over it. Having agency over it means that, man, have some sense of control. Have some sense of being able to, protect yourself, bring about changes that are appropriate for the life that you see for yourself. So much for that. So culture. The Imam said in one of our presentations that we played from him, never again trust your senses in this world. Never again trust your senses in this world. Don't think that everything that you're looking at is what you see. Let's put it that way. What you see is not necessarily what appears on the surface, and what you hear, smell, taste, etc. You have to be the director of your senses. Don't let them quote unquote be free and unguided in this world, right? All right, so this image of Isis is a big part of it. The Ankh, the key of life. The key of life is a symbol of human being. And the person who knows how to manage the human being is the person who knows how to get into the conscious and the unconscious nature of the human being, and then direct their behavior accordingly. That is the key of life. Now, you can do it for yourself, or somebody can do it to you with regard to manipulating and managing your mindset. That's what the society is doing. And so while we talk about Plato's cave metaphor, really clicking here. Speak about Plato's cave metaphor. So Plato, the Pythagoras, and whoever are that from they got their material from ancient Kemet, which we talk about that as well. So the knowledge that has been appropriated, exploited, and put to diabolic uses for the manage of society that has not known for these same thousands of years their own reality. One of the clips we talk about will be speaking to that very thing. Inshallah, it's like this is nothing. This is not news. This is and what is and we thank Allah Subhanahu wa Taala that let's do this. What by the grace of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, the Imam, it's like for us, for the Imam is quote unquote our Morpheus in that respect, or my Morpheus, yeah, whatever. He'll be whatever he is to you. MashaAllah, I gotta be clear. It's like, okay, well, that's the way I see it. And so once you get, disconnected, unhooked, or whatever you call it, it's like then you look and you see. I mean, and it's there. But again, sometimes you show it to blind people and they think you crazy. But let's move on. So this is ISIS, right? It should be easy for you to see. When did ISIS come up and where is ISIS now? It's like, so it's like, again, it's the manipulation through the media itself, i.e. the matrix, in order to keep you seeing who they want you to see, liking who they want you to like, disliking who they want you to dislike, distracting you to look to the right while they're operating on the left, and distracting you to look to the left while they're operating on the right. It literally is like animals that you're trying to just manage. You just try to manage. You got goats in this pen, you got hogs in that pen, you got whatever, any other kind of domesticated animal, and then you have these animals pull the cows out, to have the cows do what they have to do, pull the horses out, have them do what they want to do. You have the lamb, bring the lamb, take them out, bring them in, shave them, and send them back out, right? And then when they get beyond use for these other values, and kill them and eat them. It's like, that's our society. George Orwell's Animal Farm, all that, 1984, all that, again, telling us that's what's operating in the world. That's what's operating in the world. All these stories that have been told that were first and before movies and media as they are right now. You had these satirists and the others who would write these stories and preserve these stories to show and to save the knowledge that can and should be operating in society. And now it's done through movies, the same thing. But the movies often only repeat what for the purpose of preserving, just like these little plates, these little images here, or whatever, like cave drawings and hieroglyphics and other things like that. It is left as a legacy, as an inheritance, as a guide for the people who have been initiated into and educated about the nature of the culture that they're supposed to be the managers and the leaders of. The others are not. The Imam talked about. I guess that was today. Head. He said when you spell the word HEAD, it's head, and then he spelled the word read, READ. He said, "Well, READ. How do you pronounce this? We pronounce that read. HEAD. How do you pronounce that? Head." He said, "Well, then if you can pronounce READ as read and HEAD can be pronounced then as heed." So Allahu Akbar. Those are the jewels that they meant. So if you want to get ahead, you have to pay heed. You have to pay heed if you want to get ahead, right? Remember that ISIS symbol right there. It's like yeah, that's a head, but is it your head, or is it just a head that they put their hands in by giving you the look at the word itself, manipulate. You manipulate. The way you manipulate a man is getting in his head, right? Muhammad Ali, right? Get in his head. That's how once you get in his head, then you can manage, you can manipulate him. But why? And when you look at that Ankh, I'm speaking of the Ankh. When you look at the Ankh, what is that? It's also another way to understand. It's an empty head. It's an empty head, nothing in it. They say, if I want you to have an opinion, I'll give you one, right? So once a person or a system puts its hand in your head, you are managed, you are manipulated. Okay? But if you want to get ahead and not be empty-headed, then you have to pay heed, you have to pay attention. And that translates into taqwa for us. Imam Muhammad again, the highest knowledge of man in society is the science of his spirituality. And believe me, you're not ruled by guns. You're not subdued because of great physical knowledge. You are subdued because there are people in this world who know more about your spirituality than you do. And they're able to use the tools of science that they have regarding your spirituality to manipulate you and keep you under adverse spirits. That's that satanic principle operating covertly in the society. Keep you. One thing is that Black Lives Matter, what was that? Intersectionality and it's like, yeah, nah, oppressive. This is my truth. Man. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. All right. So we talked about this guy. We won't go far. What is this guy's name? Milken. He's the main guy behind some of the main movies that communicate these messages, and we talked about those. Once Upon a Time in America, Tin Cup, Pretty Woman, Fight Club, the assassination of JFK, The Big Short, The Revenant, 12 Years a Slave, right? Natural Born Killers, LA Confidential, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Heat, Free Willing. And, those kind. This guy's like, this is his side job. His side job is making movies. But the movies carry that message, and also they make the money in order to, serve the other interests. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. So we talked about Zardoz, which is a play that movie also it tells the story. It tells the story. I'm not going to try to go back over it right now, but the point is here, this Arthur Frayne is a character in there, and this on the left there, you see that gargoyle-ish kind of character that really is also the same imagery of the Tutankhamun character, but it's just what you call transmogrified. It's made to look more monstrous. But if you take the monstrousness out of it, the way it is, and it's just a reflection, a restatement of the same thing, just morphed a bit. And Arthur Frayne is represented a character. I just call him the Jacobite to move on. But again, all reaching back and still using and applying the wisdom that was first operationalized by the Pharaonic Egypt. And of course, is brought right over here into America, still in operation, hasn't died, transcends time. All right. Even just again, while you look at it, so you can see it, how the Tutank, this Egyptian character, had earrings. So the men wearing earrings is not a new thing either, is it? All right, so let's move on. Arnon Milken, that's his name. Arnon Milken. Look him up if you're interested, and you can find a lot here. Okay. All right, so this talks about how when 1895, when the first movies, you had the silent pictures, and then we have moving pictures. First time introduced 1895, and when it was first exposed, people reacted to it in absolute horror because they thought that the train was actually going to come through the screen and hit them. That was their brain reacting for the first time. But now the influence, the impact of movies are still the same. It still goes in and basically hijacks your perceptual system and influences you, but you're just sitting still. You don't react to it in the same way because you know well enough that no, it's not actually going to happen. But the penetration of your neurology, the penetration of your brain, your perceptual system, etc., the influencing of your emotions, all that does happen in the movies, especially if you suspend, which is the hope of all directors and movie makers, that you suspend disbelief. Suspend disbelief, right? They want you, don't think, don't critique, don't interpret, don't analyze, just be open to it. All right. And then when you're open to it, you become subject of it. And the influences that were written into the movie intended to occupy the consciousness, the perceptual system, the motivational system of the individuals who do suspend disbelief, then it's literally an opportunity for the people who constructed the movies to go in and reorder the furniture of your mind, right? So they can reorder the furniture of your mind, and you are living in one place in the beginning, and now you're living somewhere else when you come out of the movies. That's what's going on, right? It's an operation. You go to a movie, it's an operation, and you need to be aware. So Dark City is one. So I'm not going to go on more about that. We talked about the entertainment. Let's move on. We talked about the Truman Show, Matrix, the Free Guy, which is a current, the one right here. Yeah, I want to move on to. Let's get to where we want to start today. Now, so that I'm going to leave that up, that image there, so you can. All that stuff is working right there. That's the black side, quote unquote, the black side of it. But the whole Miley Cyrus side of it, and the other side, they've done the same thing. They do it to Bilalians, they do it to Caucasians, do it to Hispanics, except but they just use all of the symbolism of that's culturally appropriate for who they want to manipulate. And these stars, when they put these stars up there, and then those people who are guided by those stars or who take those idols, then the influence of the one who constructed the idols and the one who placed the star, then their hoped for influence is achieved in those who bow to the idol, to the image, and follow that star. All right, so we're getting closer to where we want to pick up on today. So, Cash Money Millionaires. So the big watch, right? Watch time, but then also is not. I'm watching you through time. Literally, I'm watching you through time, historically speaking, and I'm also guiding your life, going where I want you to go forward, where I want you to stand still, where I want you to go back. That, and the brother who's the one that's in charge of all that is Birdman. I understand. That's another story. Okay. All right. So I think we're close to today, right? So the idea, time is a theme that runs through all of this that we're saying. And this management of time is what we're speaking of. Now, here comes the first video that I want to play a portion of. This is from the movie Simone. The movie Simone, Simone, but you can see by the font type that it's promoting the idea, and also the imagery is about digitization, and it's about cyberspace and the like. But key is Simone. That's a combination of words. Simulated one, the simulated one, right? And let me quick punch is the simulated one means it's like the God that's made up. That's literally actually what it's talking about, or figuratively what it's addressing. It's the God that's made up. So it's put in the form of the woman, but everything that is to be understood about this woman, just translate that into Jesus. Just translate that into the greatest story ever told. Translate that into how white supremacy and how only Allah is supreme. We got that. But that whole the creation of white divinity, was a massive find. And then inshallah we get the other video, you'll see even more of it. But it's in the movie Batman versus Superman, that whole idea about Superman as a false god, right? And again, dealing with the whole idea of suspension of disbelief and the whole idea of what kind of philosophy is being promoted. There's the whole word play there. There's the symbolism play. This movie that's out right now, Red Notice, and it's the whole warping of who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. Again, going back to this moral and rational confusion, such that you don't know what to do with your freedom, because you don't know what's the right and what's the wrong, right? So if you're morally distorted, then you're going to be rationally distracted, diverted, and that's and really and I believe it's what is it? What is it called? The pedagogy of the poor or something. I have to look that up. But Cynthia McKinney, who is subject to the machine, one of those who had been subject to that machine of destruction of character, personality, image, etc., because you got out of line with the expected position that you were supposed to be holding and line you're supposed to be towing. The point is, so therefore we're going to paint you as crazy, drive you out. Either way, so the point is that management by chaos, meaning that one of the ways that we control you is put so much chaos around you, but we're in charge of the chaos, just like Planet of the Apes. Managing Conspiracies in the Dark was one of the readings that you could get from it. Is like, okay, so in the same way, the way that the media is now, you don't know what is right, which way is up, right? And okay, so that's the way that it's done. So the point here is that it's the same underlying metaphor, same underlying message. But if you don't know what the first prime message is, you don't know what the underlying master code for the whole thing is, then you could be looking at the thing, and literally you are looking at it, but if you don't have the code, then you're unable to read it. And that's all the power holders, quote unquote, the master manipulators, That's all they're interested in. All they want is to keep you out of the way. All right, so let's go through this. All right, so those of you who are on Blog Talk, inshallah, we'll get the audio up for you. And see if we can get both of them primed at the same time. So this is a dialogue. This is a dialogue between Al Pacino's character, who's a star in the movie, and this character. His name is Hank Heleno. And so he's been trying to find Al Pacino, get to Al Pacino. Al Pacino has just had a tragic firing from the movie theater, so his career basically is kind of ended as a director. And so this character Hank Heleno comes in with what he's ultimately, with the whole plot runs around using what this guy brings him. so let's get I need two. Bismillah.
Mr. Taretsky, thank God I've been trying to see you. Been calling. Your assistant, she won't put me through. I told her it was a matter of life and death. I was afraid that I wasn't going to get to you in time. Just keep the distance, right? I did it! I licked skin, I licked hair, I licked every part of her. I'm going to call security, all right? I'll call security if you don't back off. I haven't. Mr. Taransky, the answer to your prayers, the answer to this. I was misquoted. I have your new leading lady right here. In my pants. Please, sir, I don't know you. No. I don't know where you come from.
All right. So I know we had some sound issues, and I was afraid that we would. Hold on. So, Blog Talk. I'm assuming Blog Talk, you are hearing me because I didn't do anything on that side. All right. So, the sound on, let's go here. Let's go here. Hold on. So I turned the sound down on the computer, being concerned about feedback on it. So it's only 3 minutes. It's okay, mashallah. It's okay for me. I'm going to play it again for those who are on live. God, I've been trying to see you. Those of you that typed in before that there was no audio. I told her it was a matter of life and death. I was afraid that I wasn't going to get to you in time. Let me know that you're hearing it now. So if you're hearing it on Facebook, YouTube right now, shoot me a thumbs up or something. The answer to your prayers. The answer to this. All right. Very good. Let's go ahead and listen to it. In my pants. All right. Thank you. Please, sir, I don't know you. No. I don't know where you come from. It's me. Mr. Eskel. Don't you recognize me? The Future Film Conference in San Jose. Remember that? Hank, Heleno. I was the keynote speaker there. You must remember my speech. Who needs humans? Right. Right, you were booed off the stage, I remember. Oh, that's gotta be 8 years ago. Whoa. And that whole time I never left my computer. Well, good for you, Hank. Oh, it's good and bad. Because I think that's what caused this, the eye tumor. Microwaves from the screen. Oh, okay, I'm sorry to hear that. Because it was worth it. You have to see it. I've seen those. Not like this. Yeah, well, you're talking about a symphony and a virtual act. No, we call them vectors. Vectors. I need flesh. Flesh is weak. It can't be done. It can be done. With my new computer code, it can be done. You and me, we can do this together. I don't know anything about computers. Well, see, that's why you're so perfect, Mr. Trotsky. You have something that I don't have. What's that? An eye. An eye for performance. See? You know the truth when you see it. I know. I've seen your movies. I love your movies. You love my movies? Straw, God. That changed my life. You saw Straw God? I have seen every frame of your work. And you're the only filmmaker with the artistic integrity to realize my vision. You and me, art and science. We're the perfect marriage. Thank you. I got a rough day today. But I tell you what, I'll call you about this next week. We can talk. Oh, I won't be here in a week. The tumor's inoperable. I'll call you about it, okay? But listen, this is what I'm trying to say. The tumor is inoperable. I'll be dead. I'm already dead, Hank. Call me! This week! Please. All right, alhamdulillah. So that's a fine. We're gonna conclude today and maybe at 7:30 Pacific time, so whatever, bottom of the hour. So let's go back to it, starting from there. All right. So this character. Let's move on. No. Okay, his name is Hank Heleno. Hank Heleno. That's his character. And Hank is short for Henry or whatever, another name, nickname indeed. That's what they call nickname for Hank is Henry. What does Henry mean? Henry means Lord and power. That's what Henry means, Lord and power. So that's what he is representing. He is representing a God. He's representing that very thing. And so listen to some of his lines. He told Al Pacino's character, "I have the answer to your prayers." Who can answer prayers but a God, right? I have the answer to your prayers. And then he said that what was his speech? His speech that was given at the film festival of San Jose, Santa Cruz, whatever, somewhere in California. The film festival, Who Needs Humans? Who needs humans? So you know which God we're talking about. Will I submit to something, the black stinky mud, something that you molded and shaped from black stinky mud? So we know which quote unquote God to use the English vernacular that he is representing, right? Who needs humans? And then as the conversation went on, as he sought to explain the idea of the difference between vectors and synthespians, these kind of synthetic characters that he's talking about, computer generated images and the like, he said, flesh is weak. Flesh is weak, right? So you have all this religious symbolism, this religious talk in this dialogue, and in fact, when he started his conversation with him, he said, "I did it. I licked skin, I licked hair, I licked all over her," right? So I licked all of her, something like that. And of course, that's a double entendre, right? It's wordplay. It's wordplay, and wordplay is in the midst of all this very brief dialogue. And there is not a frame, and that's one of the lines that he also had in there. He said, "I have seen every frame of all of your movies," right? All those are cues for the individual to know that what I'm speaking about, the narrative or the code to decode, the key to decode what I'm talking about, you have to play it, quote unquote, in this key. Think about it. How in the quote unquote music, sound art, I agree with my brother William, that you have keys and notes in quote music, right? So you have the key, then you can unlock whatever it is that it's supposed to be communicating, right? If you know the right note, then you'll be able to read it, right? All right. So wordplay is in it. So he said, "I lick." So naturally, the common mind is going to be thinking more pruriently, let's call it. Whereas the enlightened mind is saying, "Oh, what he's talking about, he defeated the limitations of being able to project an image that truly shows hair, that truly shows skin, that can truly simulate human being performing and acting." He said, "I licked all over her. I licked all of her." And then he said when Al Pacino told him, I don't know anything about movies. I don't know anything about comedy. That's perfect. Perfect. Because you have something that I don't have. And then he says, an I, right? We say an I. Okay, well, naturally, the play inside the dialogue is that this cat doesn't have an eye. So then you have an eye, right? But then after he says an I to give it the comic punchline. But the other side of it is to say that and an ability to see something, an aesthetic, a capacity for vision that other people don't have. And so he said, we have here, you and I, we're the perfect marriage, art and science, right? And that's what's operating in the world right now, truly, art and science. And I mean, it's always true. If it looked like boxing, right? Whatever. Boxing is part art, part science. So, and so it is with everything. Everything that is of any value, of any worth, it has that combination. It's really left brain, right brain kind of thing. And we'll get to that someday, inshallah. But the key thing in the movie, he also said he admired his movies, and he said straw God, right? So he said straw God, and then Al Pacino's character repeats, you saw straw God, so straw God is key. So how many times that's mentioned? I lost my eye. You're looking at the eye. You have an eye. So it's all about the eye, right? And then straw God, this whole idea about God in movies, and also every frame. You talk about frame. The way people see things is through their frames, right? So whoever creates the frames that you see through, they are the ones that control your vision. And you note that he was carrying a picture. He was carrying a picture in a frame. And while it's one of those blonde bombshell type characters, I was thinking that she was a Marilyn Monroe. But the point is that she doesn't necessarily have to be a Marilyn Monroe, because Marilyn Monroe is iconic. And if and when we get to the Kool and the Gang video of Fresh, she comes up again. But the point is, it doesn't actually have to be the actual character. That the icon actually stimulates and activates the frame of reference, the frame of reference that it's tied to. So a whole pattern of thinking comes up around it. It happens with words, and it happens with images. Words like porridge, right? So when words like porridge, and that brings up the whole Goldilocks and the Three Bears narrative. Everything that goes along with it, all has to be said, is porridge, right? So a blonde woman, red lips with a mold on her cheek, a little touch of a mole on her cheek. It's like there's Marilyn Monroe, and that brings up the whole narrative of Marilyn Monroe, right? So same way about frames, right? Once I give you a frame, and then all I have to do is trigger that frame. And once I trigger that frame, it's called sign stimulus. Once I trigger that frame, then that's the way you think. You're on that road now, okay? Because that's the frame that I triggered, and that's also what the symbolism of that picture was as well when he put it into the car. But then he said, "Straw God, it saved my life. It saved my life." Okay, so now Hank is Lord, power, and he's talking about Savior. I have the answer to your prayer. So the whole theme of Lord and Savior, that element is there, but not of God, and not of quote unquote Jesus Christ that Muslim believers believe in, but the Jesus Christ that the world has been given is the simulated one. It's the simulated one. So Heleno, his last name, right? Heleno is disguising of the word Hellion. Hellion, all you do is, just like I said about taste and state, right? Just take the S out of the middle of the word and put it in front of the word. You got state, right? Heleno, you can find that with many other words. But Heleno is disguising of the word Hellion, right? So he's the Lord of hell. He's the Lord of hell, right? A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. But, and that's, people think that Satan rules hell. Satan don't rule hell. Satan is going to be in hell. Allah said, "I'll fill hell with you and all who follow you." So, but in this world, Satan is the ruler of the underworld. He's the Lord and the power of the underworld. Man, that's a lie right there, right? but that's this character, Hank Helena, as how can you say, as weak and ineffectual and powerless as he may seem, and that's it. See, back to Al Pacino. Remember what I said? I started saying, I started talking about Neo, right? Neo, and then Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and then Neo in Constantine, right? So that character, it's like you get character typed, right? Boris Karloff pretty much is Frankenstein, right? And Bela Lugosi, I mean, could you possibly see him as anything other than Dracula, right? And so persons get character typed, right? So Al Pacino, the devil's advocate, right? The devil's advocate. He played in that role. So now he's in another role that has that connection. But in that role, I want to point to the idea is that even though the character may be portrayed as not being as powerful as he actually is, that's also one of the cinematic devices. It's like, okay, they'll think this guy is not really that important. The masses of people will talk, this guy is not really important, when he's actually the main power behind the throne, and the main idea that's driving it all. And that's how it is in this society. Right? The people that you see in front of the camera, the people that you see grabbing the headlines, they are not the power. They are not anybody. Look, I will say it again. If you see, and if their name is in the paper, if their name is in the headlines, if they're the ones that the cameras and the paparazzi, etc., are seeing and finding and writing stories about, they're not the power. They're not the power. Just know that. All right. Heleno is disguising of the word hellion, a disorderly, troublesome, rowdy, or mischievous person, an evil person, a mischievous, troublesome, or unruly person. Informally, it's a person fond of deviltry, a mischievous troublemaker. This is Hank Hellion, right? And Hank Hellion is what makes the simulated one possible, because he's the one that created Simone, and Al Pacino inherited it from, because this guy dies, as he said, and he sent the hard drive that had his algorithm or what have you on it. He sent that to Al Pacino, sort of like, let's just call it like Genie in the Lamp, just metaphor. Because once once Al Pacino's character started using it, then that's when, quote unquote, the genie was out of the bottle, and he could not stop. He wanted to put an end to it, but he couldn't stop it. Once it was out there, he couldn't stop it. And so the idea of the idea of inheritance, Imam Muhammad, rahimahullah, he said that Satan is a mindset that's inherited by people of a certain disposition, and they use that against the common human being, the common person. That knowledge is inherited knowledge. Again, we can go back. We have to show you all those images. We talk about Plato's cave. We talk about the whole pharaonic image, and the pharaonic knowledge that's been turned upside down and used against the masses. This is inherited knowledge. And so Al Pacino's character in Victor Taransky, he inherited that from this person. So Shaitan passes on his, quote unquote, his wicked wisdom, right? There's another character. There's another movie. It's Simon. Simon is the character. Simon, Alan Arkin, right? We won't get to that. Perhaps next week we will play that video clip. It is about 13 minutes long. If you really want to get to what I'm saying, I literally literally what I'm saying, you can see that movie is given as a comedy, is given as a parody, is given, in that kind of no big deal. No, but it's the story of how this society's religion is actually created. And we're talking about from thousands of years ago, and that's actually talked about, but in a satirical way, so that I don't take this seriously. Talked about in a satirical way, but in fact, it is revealing exactly how it is done. Nation of Islam, those of us who are part of that Nation of Islam, you can see you and I were made on the very same pattern that what's in that movie, Simon. Okay, so inshallah, perhaps we'll get to that next week. So that's basically going to be it for today. Anybody who has comment, push one on your phone. I'll give you an opportunity before we sign out. We got about 2 minutes. If there's anything that you like to bring, push one on your phone. Blog Talk. Those of you who are online with us on Facebook and the other, alhamdulillah. Thank you for being here. What do we have here? Oh yeah, alhamdulillah, you got it, Imam Eric. That's coming up next. But good, you're on the road. Alhamdulillah, that's right. The Dajjal, that's a big part of it. So we'll get to that. All right, so I think that's it. Yes, Sonia, correct. The pedagogy of the oppressed. That's what I was looking for. The pedagogy of the oppressed. Alhamdulillah, thank you all for alhamdulillah being here with us, and inshallah we will move on. So inshallah, what's going on? What's today? Today is Wednesday. So inshallah, Friday. God's peace be on you, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Assalam. Oh, hold on. I got my brother Melvin before I cut out. Mel, what you got?
60 seconds.
What? Look at my smile.
Thank you so much for going over this movie again. Because when you did this back in the day, on your with the Tool, Jewel, and Fool presentation that you did years ago, did you? I don't remember some of this stuff being brought out. Did you like?
No, I didn't. We just, just like right now, it's just not enough time in the day to do it. But this is also why I decided to go ahead and do it. Trust me, mashallah. When I put together this to try, okay, so in the morning you're going to do this, do that, then something else comes up. Say, no, you can't put all that. You can't do that. But it's just like you're saying, because that presentation you're talking about, that was like
10 seconds.
2004. That's 17 years. So it's like, okay. And so I said, Fahim, look, man, just put it in there now, whatever, mashallah. So yeah, I'm just deciding that rather than, leaving it on the table, just put it out there and, you got to keep it pushing because there's so much to say, so little time. And by the grace of Allah, this is no boast. It's like, I have to put it out there so that, okay, well, somebody heard it. I said it. So if they take it, good. If not, life goes on. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I guess sometimes you say so many things that we can only absorb. But
yeah. No, I've been told
all over again.
You're right. I've been told that. And mashallah, again, this is no boast. This is, in the Quran, when you read the Quran, look up Shu'aib. When you look up Shu'aib, when Shu'aib talked to his people, then in the Quran itself is that, and I didn't know this before. This all came later after choosing name. In fact, I had another name that I was going to choose, but then Shu'aib is what worked out. But then and they say to Shu'aib, most of the things you say we don't understand. I mean that's in the Quran, right? So it's like, hey, I gotta own it. I gotta own it to some extent. But life goes on. That's it.
Alhamdulillah. You definitely brought the word alien. I never heard the word before. There's so much that you brought out in this that I gotta go watch this movie again because I didn't see so much of this, It's mind-boggling. So I'm glad you brought this up again, and I'm glad that you do continue to go over some of these old things. I think it is important to do that, to shore it up in our psyche, shore it up in our thinking rather, so that it becomes a part of this. This is something. So I definitely want to watch this again. So I just want to thank you again for bringing that up.
Thank you. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah. So inshallah, we're plotting towards, because Heliopolis, and Imam breaks down the whole Heliopolis. So the whole Hellion aspect of it, and it's connected with Heliopolis. And I'm telling you, we are operating, in lockstep, in X's and O's, playbook fashion, the Heliopolis model. And the Imam has already taught, and the Imam was telling us these things late 70s, early 80s, and and it's operating right now. It was operating then, as he told, and operating before then, as he had told us. But it's like, here we are 50 years, minimum 40 years after what the Imam said, and then having got it at large. There are many who do, but at large, where it becomes a part of the ethos and therefore part of the motivational system for those who are identified as students, followers, associates of Imam W, Deen Muhammad. It's like, if we really knew, we as a group, we would do more. This is no complaint. It's like, I'm on the team, so it's like we're doing well in so many areas. But again, the whole idea is that how much better will we do if we what comes to mind is I pass the ball, right? So you just gotta keep it pushing. So there's many examples, many things that we talk about, but let's move on. All right, everybody have a wonderful day. Allah's peace be on you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.